Hi everyone, this is Lori here from Lori Hooks. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with me today. So as you can see, we have my whip cart here and it's going to get a cleaning. And the reason why it's getting a cleaning today is I've been doing something a little stupid for a while and it backfired yesterday. So my spot that I sit at in the living room, we have like a love seat that has like the armrest in the center of the love seat that's got like a compartment in it, and in front of it there's two cup holders, and then that's on my left side. I usually sit on the right side of the couch, so what's on the left side of me is this armrest, and then on the right side is the big cushion armrest. And I usually keep my laptop sitting on the, like if I have my laptop sitting there with me, it's usually on that armrest. And behind the laptop is, or kind of beside me, is the side table. And I don't usually put my drink in the cup holders on the couch because like certain cups don't fit in there, like my coffee mug doesn't fit in there. The other thing is that I usually have my skein or my ball or whatever yarn I'm working on is also on the left side of me, so it's very close to that cup holder, and I've almost put my yarn into my glass a few times. So I don't usually keep my cup in the cup holder, I usually keep it in the side table. So yesterday I vacuumed, and I vacuumed underneath the table and around on that corner of the couch and stuff, and I cleaned up the little bits that were all over the floor. And I guess when I put the table back, I didn't put it back in the right place, because last night I went to sit down on the couch and bumped the laptop, which I bump it often, but yesterday when I bumped it, I knocked the glass over. And my iced tea that was in the glass was about half full of iced tea, and the tea jumped right here on my whip cart. Now, when I say iced tea in Canada, what we refer to as iced tea would be like Nestea or Brisk. In the States, you might refer to that as sweet tea. In like here, we don't have unsweetened tea, like real tea that you can buy in the store that way. We do, but it's something that's new. It's not very common. And the ones that are new, it's still sweetened, but it's just not as sweet as like Nestea or Briskets. So anyway, as I said, my iced tea spilt onto my cart. It hit right about here. Luckily what I had on this part of my cart was not really yarn, it was other stuff, which I'm gonna reload up my cart here with you guys and tidy it up so you'll kind of see how some of the stuff was on the cart. There was a little bit of yarn on this shelf, and the yarn did get splashed a little bit, but not bad. The shelf underneath was completely full of yarn, almost all the way up to the bottom of the second shelf. And sitting on top of that, I had a large, like, you would put an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in. I had an envelope that you fit that in, unfolded, as well as, I think it was a Hirschner's magazine, was sitting on the top. And luckily, because these shelves have holes in them, that when the iced tea went through and hit here, it ran off the magazine and onto the floor. The majority of the iced tea ended up there, not on the yarn that was on the shelf. So I consider myself lucky. The things only got a little bit wet, and I clearly need to pay more attention to where I'm putting things and stuff like that. So as for my yarn that got wet, I kind of just, my daughter was sitting here with me. The two of us grabbed a bunch of paper towels, and we dabbed the wet off the yarn. It was mostly all acrylic yarn. So the acrylic doesn't absorb as fast as the paper towel does, luckily. So the yarn did feel a little bit damp, but not bad, because as I said, they were just kind of drops, not like actual poured iced tea on it. So we dabbed the iced tea off, and I spread them all out overnight and let everything dry, and in the morning everything felt dry. So that's really good. I'm gonna just continue to use the yarn the way that it is. My wearables and my blankets, I wash them all before I use them anyways. And I don't think everything that got wet was something that I intended to use as for a blanket, I think anyways. I think it's okay. I did have a couple skeins that I was thinking I might use to make some mittens or a hat that were on there, but I think everything is pretty much okay. The other thing that I was doing yesterday, and maybe this is how it kind of started, you know, I feel like things happen for a reason. I decided yesterday morning that I should make a list of all my whips and see how many there actually are. So I started making the list, and then I got partway through and I was like, I don't feel like doing this. So now that everything in my whip cart is now out and all over the floor or all over my dining room table, one or the other, I decided to make a list of my whips while I was at it. And I'm not going to show you all of them, but I came up with 13 whips. 13! Is that crazy? I think that's crazy. That's a lot. I clearly need to stop starting things and start finishing things. So let's get my cart reloaded up. You can see what I keep on my cart, and maybe I store things in such a way that's helpful to you. You might see some things that are, you know, some suggestions for me, which I'm always willing to take suggestions. I love them. And yeah, so let's see. Let's get started with what we have here. So I'm going to start with the top shelf, and buried on the top shelf was one of my sleeping whips that has been very sleepy for quite a while. And it is Max, the African Flower Bulldog pattern. And this is what he looks like. This is the pay pattern. I bought it on Ravelry. And I had bought a box of the one of those Soft Fun rainbow packs. Let me just take out this skein. This is what the pack looks like. And this is what I'm using as for the colored parts of Max, the African Flower Bulldog. And for the main color, I'm using this Soft Fun, which is, it's the color lace. So it's like a beigey white, or a light beige. So when I've made only one leg, which I believe was a hind leg, and a bunch of extra of the, you know, some of them are hexagons, some of them are, you know, I'm not good with shapes, but there are these African flowers, and I have, you know, a bunch of them made sitting here. So you put the final round on, you use the light beige, and you join them together. So here is the one leg that I've made. Actually, maybe there's two legs here because there's another one, I guess. And then I've started something else. It's been sleeping for so long, I don't remember what I've done and what I haven't done. It's been sleeping a long time. So this one was living. I had the pattern sitting up on the top shelf. And I had this box fits perfectly in the top shelf. The one end, and these were all just kind of sitting on top. My floor is very creaky, so if you can hear the creaking, it is my extremely creaky floors. Our house was built with hardwood everywhere, and the hardwood all creaks everywhere. So when you walk around the house, everybody knows that you're walking around because the house is very creaky. So the other thing I had on this shelf was I had this basket. I'm not going to clean out the basket. There's a bunch of finished objects in here. There's a hat. There's a hair thing. There's some notepads, some sock yarn, some fabric glue, some sticky notes, pens, just miscellaneous stuff in this basket, which I should be cleaning it out, but I'm not going to. So when it fits in there just beside that one, just perfectly. The other thing I had on my top shelf was my bag of, these are my Dreams interchangeable circular knitting needles. These are Knitter's Pride Dreams needles. I have my set for my Tunisian hooks is here. I have a review of this set in an earlier video if you're interested in that. If you can't find it, send me a comment and I'll be sure to find it for you or put on what day it was posted. So this is my, what do they call these? The Dreams Chunky Needles, interchangeable needles. This has my lighted crochet hook set that my daughter bought for me. It's got all the junk in here for it. The hook is not put away, so let's put the hook away while we're doing stuff here. Get it put away in its case. I really like the idea of the lighted crochet hook. The reason why I don't use it very much is because my tension is completely different when I use it. So it's not like I can just use it for part of a project. I would have to use it for the whole thing. And because it's a plastic hook, it's not very slippery. So I find it hard to work with, like it's slow to work with because it's not very slippery. The other thing I've had up here was this case has, I believe this one has my, yeah, this is my wooden knitting Dpns. So I bought a set of wooden bamboo Dpns and they're all in their size packages in here. These weren't very good ones. They were cheap Amazon ones. They're not too great. They do the job. And this little case is empty. So, and these were all tucked up here on this top shelf. Like that. So, I think that's everything for the top shelf. So then on the middle shelf, because when I'm sitting down, I can easily grab everything in here. So I keep my scissors in here. My current crochet hooks that I need are in here. There's usually a pen in here. My needles for sewing in my ends are in here. And there's usually a tape measure down on the bottom. There might be a tape measure down the bottom. In this little container, there's some fabric glue, my knitting needle tips to hold the yarn on them. And in this little container this is a magnetic container. This one's magnetic too. There is row counters, which I've shown these on my projects before. There's these little row counters that have, you can hang them on your project with a stitch marker or whatever. And then I also have these little tabs and they have sizes on them. Let's see if I can get this to come in focus. Of course not. So anyways, these have sizes on them and they are ranging. So they're actually intended for knitting needles. I use them for my knitting as well as my crochet hooks because it's got, you know, the US size for the knitting needles. I always use, my brain works in millimeters. So it doesn't matter whether I'm using crochet hooks or knitting needles. You know, if I'm using a 4mm, that's what I think of. I don't think of what letter it is. I don't even know what a letter of 4mm crochet hook is. So that is my little container of them. My pen. So the other thing I had, so let's organize my second shelf. So on my second shelf, I had my cup with my favorite needles, favorite crochet hooks in it. And this is in my Tim Hortons cup, is my Tim Hortons is my favorite coffee. And I keep all my clover hooks in here, from my big fat clover hooks all the way down to my small ones. My tulips, if I have a few tulips, they're usually in this cup as well. I don't know why the furls is in here because I never use the furls, but it's in here for some reason. Yeah, so it's mostly clovers that are in here, and this is my favorite crochet hooks cup. And it sits right here, and I can reach this from my chair. And behind it, where's the other one? Sorry, I have a pile all the way around me on the floor. These are my cheaper Amazon crochet hooks mostly. Yeah, these are the cheap Amazon ones I bought. Plus there's, you know, a big void hook in here. Some plastic needles. You know, the stick you get in the stuffing to help stuff your projects, that's in here. This is my daughter's M&M's cup she gave me to put in here. So the other things I had on this shelf so I could reach them easily. So I have a box of eyes and noses and stuff like that, and their backings are here. Those ones were, this one's got multicolors in it and stuff. There's some really big ones in here. These ones are all smaller ones in black, and they're just eyes in this one. Some sewing pins help sew things onto your projects. A box of red buttons. I bought red buttons for something. I don't remember what for, so it lives on here. So this is a funny bag. I was trying to pick out colors for something, and so I had this is for, what is that yarn called? I can't think of what it's called right now. When I buy from Wool Warehouse. I've forgotten what the yarn's called. But this is all the color, what do you call it, a swatch thing. It comes like in a cardboard folder, and it was 3 pages of them, and I cut them all apart so that I could hold the colors beside each other, because I was trying to pick out colors for a project. So I ended up cutting them all apart, and then I put them in a bag to keep them. What else do we have? We have some blocking pins, a brand new package. This is to measure, check your needle or your hook size. So this I got from when my grandmother passed away. I brought her sewing machine and her sewing table to my house. And in there, I found this box of buttons. And look at this cigarette box. I think it's really cool. And it's full of buttons that she had saved. And I got it out when my daughter actually went and got it out for me one day when I was looking for buttons for something. I just found this box so funny because my grandparents never smoked. So why she had a cigarette box full of buttons is unknown to me, but I think the box is really cool. So it lives here on my whip cart too. This is the piece of paper that shows what size those eyes were in the big box. I'll put that with them. Oh, these are some hooks that I use when I make backpack buddies. I just got these at my local dollar store. More stuff for making backpack buddies. A container full of stars. I don't know why I have all these stars. And, well, I know I was going to use them for Christmas trees and they didn't work. So these have my extra set of these tabs that are the same as those that you use to mark your size of your crochet hook or your knitting needle for your project. So, in the project I had on this shelf, and to tell you how much my projects sleep, and I don't know if I'm ever going to finish this one now. I have the 3 squares that I had finished from the Jada's Tunisian, what's it called? Tunisian calendar cal, where she releases 1 Tunisian square a month, and I only have 3 squares here. So I quit in March. And my 3 squares are sitting here, and I haven't done anything with it since then. So I'm going to put them back in here. Maybe one day I'll finish them, hopefully. And here is the 3 partially used yarns I'm using for those. These are Loops and Threads Impeccable. Okay, so I think that's everything that was on this shelf. Don't see anything else to go on here. So on the bottom shelf, I had my squares for my mosaic Amical. And this top square got pretty wet in this corner. It also feels like there's something else on it. And when I picked up everything off the cart, there was some fabric glue sitting on this shelf in that corner. And I'm wondering if the fabric glue had leaked through, because it was laying on its side at the bottom of the shelf, and I'm wondering if it leaked through, because it doesn't feel like it's the iced tea. It feels like something else in that corner. So I might have to remake this one square, which the squares are pretty big, so they take me a little while to make, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these squares done, and I think there was 24 in that Amical that I intend to make. So yeah, so there's the completed squares for it. I'm going to leave that one on the top. And I will probably wash it and see if it's okay before I, of course, wash it, make sure it's okay before I sew it into the blanket. And if it's not, then I'll remake that one square. The ones underneath are all fine and they were dry. So in the yarn that I'm using for that is this Premier Anti-Pilling DK. So there's, I'm not going to tell you the colors. If you're interested, I can tell you, or watch later. I will eventually work on these squares again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I think I should put these the other way because they're going to fall off. Just a minute. Let's turn these. Put the one on the end the other way. 8. I think there's 9 colors I have here for that. So I have my extra, because there's a bunch more white for those squares for the background, as well as the charcoal gray. That's the other border color. I have a whole bunch more of those put away in my yarn stash. So the other thing I had on here was this little cup with my extra Dpns and knitting needles in it. These are my sock cup for my socks that I make. The sock size needles. And I have these 2 balls of Peyton's Astron here. Oh, I couldn't reach the other one. I think I bought these to make either hats or mittens. I'm pretty sure it was for mittens. Now the other half of this bottom shelf is empty after reorganizing. Look at that. I can find something to put on there. Not another whip though. We're not starting another whip right now. So that is my whip cart. And I think that's everything I'm going to put on here for now. So that's only 3, 3 of my whips on this cart. So the other 10 are somewhere in this room or in these bags. Oh, my cotton blanket I'm making for my bed is in this purple bag here. And in this bag here, I have my Eva cardigan. And in this bag is, I think just my labels that I've used so far from this year off the skeins. And this bag here is empty. And that is my whip cart. So I'm somewhat organized for later when I'm ready to sit down and crochet again. There's still a little bit of mess on the floor because the iced tea also spilled onto the table that was the iced tea was sitting on. It's got like a shelf in the bottom, and it did spill onto the shelf a little bit, but there wasn't any, there was yarn on that shelf, but it was all in a plastic bin. So quite a bit of iced tea actually did spill on that shelf, but it was all in the bin, the yarn, so the yarn was fine. So, and that's where my what do you call it, my scrap balls were all in that bin, so they were all fine and they're all dry. So that is my whip cart, and that is my story of my flying iced tea, and I should learn to keep it somewhere else. But where else am I going to keep my drink where it's convenient to have something to drink, convenient for my computer, and convenient for my whip cart? My daughter said I just need to use a lid. I should have a lid on my cup all the time, and that will solve my problems. So maybe I'll take her suggestion. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully I don't spill my drink on my whip cart ever again, though, because it was a hassle. And the food that I was carrying in my hand when I knocked the computer was cold, and I had to eat my supper cold. So my french fries cold weren't very good. So anyways, so thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for helping me reorganize my whip cart and listen to me ramble, ramble, ramble. And I will see you next time on Lori Hooks. Bye, everyone.